Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom.
It's our TOEIC unit. This is the unit you want to pay special attention to. Hopefully, it will help you get an even higher score when you take that TOEIC test. So we're going to be talking today about how to keep your staff. You know, we are in industries sometimes where people will be there for a couple of years and then they'll come in and say, goodbye, I'm leaving. And so it's kind of hard. We have new people coming and going a lot, at least in the English teaching industry. And that's true of most all the companies that we record for. So how do you keep your staff? When new people come, you have to spend so much time training them and stuff. What's been your experience with that, Tom?
Yeah, it depends on the industry, of course. For some companies, people come and then they, work there for a year or two and feel like they've learned all they can, and then they move on to the next job option. But in some industries, of course, there are lots of challenges, like a trading company or maybe some kind of bank or something like that, where you can learn lots and lots of things over many, many years. And in those particular cases, it probably is beneficial to keep your staff. Don't have this revolving door of people coming and going all the time. So, yes, the question of our article today is we need to keep our staff, but how? We don't want to have people continuing to quit all the time. We want to keep them in. It's expensive to retrain people all the time.
It is. Well, let's get started, guys. We have a conversation here between two women, Angela and Lucy, and a guy named Graham. And then we'll be back. I called this meeting to address an urgent issue. As we all know, Adam resigned last week, and he's far from the only employee we've lost this year.
Is it getting more difficult to find suitable candidates?
The problem isn't finding new applicants. It's ensuring that we retain more of our current staff members. Did you learn anything from people's exit interviews? One consistent reason for leaving was that people felt there wasn't enough opportunity for them to develop their professional skills here. In that case, I'd recommend that we create more training programs.
We already have a thorough training program for all new employees.
I mean ongoing training for current employees in a range of different areas. Some people will want to boost their IT skills, while others want to get some management training. If we want to promote internal candidates to supervisory roles, they'll need the right knowledge and experience to step up. Another problem we've encountered is that when a skilled employee leaves, or even takes a long vacation, no one is able to fill their shoes right away. Training people would provide us with cover for these situations.
Will we need to bring in external consultants to run some of these courses? That could be expensive.
If you think training is expensive, try ignorance. In all seriousness, having a better qualified group of employees will make us more competitive as a business.
Okay, it's now time for us to discuss the contents of today's lesson. The title of our lesson, again, is kind of a question. We need to keep our staff, but how? Remember, staff here refers to the group of employees together. You cannot add an S to this word. You can say employees. We need to keep our employees or our staff members, but don't say staffs or audiences or families or things like that. It's pretty weird.
Yeah, it is pretty weird. So you see it a lot, though, here in Taiwan, and people will think, well, I'm talking about the staff from this office, and they're not the same people in another office. It doesn't matter. One company has just staff. So if you want to talk about a specific person, you could say one member on my staff or one of my staff members. Or we just say one of my employees, right? So how do you keep your staff from quitting or moving on? I know another reason for leaving after a couple of years is people want to get a pay raise. And sometimes that's the only way to do it, is to leave one company and go somewhere else. Although with today's economy, that's not a guarantee anymore. So be careful if you quit your job.
It depends on the job market, of course. And Angela begins the conversation. She says, I called this meeting to address an urgent issue. I've organized this meeting and we need to talk about something important. As we all know, Adam resigned last week, and he's far from the only employee we've lost this year. So she tells us that Adam, someone who used to work for the company, no longer does. He resigned last week, and if you're far from something, that means, well, he's not the only one. There are lots of other employees who have quit as well, and to resign just means to quit your position, and supposedly you're going to find another position. That's different from retiring. If you retire, you quit working, period, and you enjoy a life of leisure and golf and volunteer activities and taking care of grandchildren.
Hopefully, huh? So he resigned. It's also different than being fired. If you're fired, your company tells you they don't want you to work at their company any longer. Maybe you've done something wrong, and they fire you for cause. That's what we call that. C-A-U-S-E for cause means you did something wrong. But you can also be laid off. That's different from resigning as well. If you're laid off, you didn't do anything wrong, but maybe the economy is bad or your company's trying to downsize and they don't have enough money or maybe cash to pay as many employees. So they will lay off people. Someone will be laid off. Here, this person's resigning. That was their choice. They volunteered to go.
And of course, if you did something wrong, you came to work too many times late, and you screwed up some accounts and things like that, then you could get fired. But in this particular case, Adam resigned, and he wants to move on and get a job somewhere else. And Graham says, is it getting more difficult to find suitable candidates? Indeed, that's the next question that one would ask. If so many people are quitting, then maybe it's just difficult to find suitable employees to work at our company. We need to look harder, or we need to actually try to keep the ones we have.
That's right. So Angela says the problem isn't finding new applicants. It sounds like there are lots of choices out there. People are interested in joining their company. But here's the problem. It's ensuring or making sure that we retain more of our current staff members. If you're an applicant, you're a person who's making a formal application for something. Typically, it's a job. So they've had lots of interest in their company. That's not the problem. The problem is they want to keep the employees that they have. And we're going to find out what the reason is for that. What does retain mean, Tom?
To keep them, don't let them go. Retain can, of course, refer to this in different situations. You can retain the original appearance of your house, for example. You can keep it looking the way it was when you do some remodeling, but it still looks like it used to look like. And in this particular case, though, they need to make sure that they keep more of their current staff members so that they don't quit, and so we don't have to find new candidates and train those candidates. And Lucy says, did you learn anything from people's exit interviews? Those are interviews that are conducted with people who are quitting, and they'll ask them various questions. Why are you quitting? Can you tell us that? You don't have to tell us, but it'd help us if we know exactly why you're not happy here, why you want to move on. So indeed, when you start a company, you'll have an interview, and in some cases, you'll have an interview when you quit the company.
That's right. So Angela says one consistent reason, this is a reason that they hear people are leaving when they do these exit interviews. One reason is that people feel like there isn't enough opportunity for them at that particular company. A lot of times people are ambitious, and if they get a job at a company and they are there a couple of years, but they can see that their path to management or a managerial role is blocked by someone who's been there longer, sometimes they'll get frustrated and want to go somewhere where they feel like they can actually move up in the food chain and they can get a managerial role. I was a manager for a while. I'm not sure that's something everybody wants to do either. Then you have different types of headaches and problems. But a lot of young people think, oh, of course I want to be a manager. But be careful what you wish for.
You just might get it.
Yeah.
Indeed. So, yeah, a lot of people think there are not opportunities for them to learn more things, to develop their professional skills in management or learning how to handle certain documents or to deal with customers and orders and stuff like that. And Lucy says, well, in that case, if that is the case, I'd recommend that we create more training programs. That's Lucy's suggestion here. If employees cannot develop their professional skills, then we should give them those skills through these training programs.
That's right. Those aren't cheap, though. My last job in the U.S., we had a lot of training that our new employees had to go through and cost the company a lot of money. So that's a nice suggestion, but it's also an expensive suggestion. Lucy says, we could create these training programs, and Graham then says, we already have a thorough training program for all new employees. So if something's thorough, it's very complete. They've thought about everything. If someone gives their home a thorough cleaning, they've cleaned everything. They haven't forgotten any area of the house. So it just means you do something completely. You look at all the details. You don't just do something that's superficial or partway done. My brothers, when they would have household chores to do, they often did not do a thorough cleaning job. So, yeah, if you do something thoroughly, I bet your boss or your parents are really happy with the kind of work that you produce because you're very careful about everything.
Right, so Graham says we already have these training programs, but Lucy says, well, I mean ongoing training for current employees in a range of different areas. So ongoing just means additional training after the new training for employees. They've been working there for a while after they got trained, and now they want to move on to something more challenging, so they need to have ongoing training or more advanced training in different areas. Some people will want to boost their IT skills, while others want to get some management training. IT, I guess, means information technology. They want to improve their skills in that area. And then, of course, some people want to try their hand at managing people, to be in charge of people, to be in charge of projects or accounts, and to actually supervise people.
That's right. So if we want to promote internal candidates to supervisory roles, they'll need the right knowledge and experience to step up. So maybe you're not the manager type and you think, well, but I'd like to improve my skills. I'd like to take some of these IT courses I see out there. Good companies will pay for their employees to take classes and courses outside of work. Usually you have to do it in your own time or on your own time, maybe after work or on the weekend, something like that. But she also says, some people want to be promoted to supervise others or be managers. So she says if we want people to be promoted from within, and that's what an internal candidate is. They already work at the company. External is somebody who doesn't work at the company that your company decides would be a better fit. Maybe they'd be a better manager than someone internally who has applied for a position. Well, if they want to be promoted, they'll need the right knowledge and experience to step up. Step up just means to take on more responsibility.
Well, here's Angela. She says another problem we've encountered, another problem we've found, is that when a skilled employee leaves or even takes a long vacation, no one is able to fill their shoes right away. Of course, you have people in a company that specialize in certain things, and when they leave the company, you need to have somebody who can step in and take over. But in this particular case, no one can fill their shoes. If you fill someone's shoes, you basically do what they were doing before, and that is a problem in a company because every once in a while someone's going to quit and someone wants to take a long vacation, and you do need to have people ready to step up and take on their job responsibilities, if not for just a short time or maybe forever.
Right. So sometimes it's good to have like a deputy position in your company. I was teaching English at the stock trading company here in Taiwan, and they all seem to have deputies. So they had the manager of the department and a deputy, and that deputy was highly trained to be able to step in and fill the manager's shoes if needed. A lot of people are taking maternity leave. I don't know if they have paternity leave here where the dads take off some time after a baby's born. Or maybe you have a lot of vacation time coming. So you need someone who can get in there and do the job so that your company just doesn't fall apart. A lot of people like to think, though, that they're irreplaceable, that, if they leave, my company will never find someone as good. Usually they can find someone who can do a pretty good job. But, helping people get prepared to fill in is an important part of the manager's role. So if you're a manager, you better be looking around to see who could help you out. Sometimes managers are afraid of training their deputy because they fear they're going to be replaced. But you need to do it if you're a good employee because it helps the company.
Indeed, and Angela finishes up here by saying training people would provide us with cover for these situations. Cover just means some kind of backup plan in case someone has a long vacation or if somebody quits. And Graham says, he's got a question here. Will we need to bring in external consultants to run some of these courses? That could be expensive. So they've decided to have some ongoing training sessions. But of course, somebody's got to take charge of those sessions. So can you have someone inside the company conduct them? Or do you need to hire somebody from outside? That would be external consultants. And a consultant, of course, is somebody you consult. You hire them because they have some information or some skills that you don't have, but you can hire them temporarily to help you out.
That was what my last company in New York did. They were management consultants. If you're thinking about it, you should know that they are very, very expensive. So you might want to think about how you can use your internal people, your internal resources first, because those external consultants charge a fortune, which just means a lot of money. So, it's something that they're considering. I think they're just kind of looking at their options right now as they have this meeting.
Okay, and Angela finishes up their conversation by saying, if you think training is expensive, try ignorance. So she's basically saying that, training might be expensive, that's true, but ignorance would probably be even more expensive. And ignorance just means you don't know something that you really should. And yes, indeed, if they have employees that don't have this information or the employees are not being properly trained, it could cost the company lots of money. So again, it's a lack of knowledge or information that you should have. You might plead ignorance to a certain situation that you don't know anything about so that you don't have to take responsibility for it.
Right. And now, for those of you who aren't native English speakers, you might not pick up on this joke right away. But look at the room. If you see people laughing, they've obviously made a joke here. Sometimes these jokes that we tell are kind of hard to understand because they're sarcastic. But they would say it like this, and Tom did this. If you think training is expensive, try ignorance. So it is kind of a joke. So she follows that up by saying, in all seriousness, getting back to a more, serious tone, having a better qualified group of employees will make us more competitive as a business. I think it's good planning to train everybody at your company so that if somebody leaves or is suddenly taken ill or maybe does have a baby and is gone for a while, that you don't lose your step. You keep up with your other competitors out there. There are a lot of companies out there who are looking for companies to lose a step so that they can take some of their market share.
So hopefully they're going to figure out exactly what they're going to do to conduct these ongoing training sessions, whether they're going to do it in-house or bring someone from the outside. And as you said, it's quite expensive. Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion for today. Let's turn things over now to our Chinese teacher.
Hello everyone, 我是派老师。今天讲解的是夏季合刊 Unit 7 We need to keep our staff, but how? 今天这一课是多益单元，内容和留住人才有关。那到底应该要怎么做才能够留住人才呢？ 这个值得企业好好思考。Without further ado， 我们一起看看今日课程内容的学习重点。好，首先我们看到 Angela， 她说 I called this meeting to address an urgent issue。 从这里我们就可以听得出来，原来这一个对话的场合是在会议上。 Adam resigned last week。上个礼拜有位员工，就是 Adam 他离职了 and is far from the only employee we've lost this year。 好，请同学看到这个 far from， 那原来啊，上个礼拜 Adam 离职，不过他并不是今年唯一离职的员工，早先呢其实已经有其他人离职了。那这么多人离职当然是一个很重大的问题。好，所以呢这里请同学呢写上，我们说一家公司有人离职，那我们会去计算说一年之内到底有多少人离职嘛。如果很多人离职，我们会说这家公司流动率很高，英文就是 turnover rate， turnover rate T-U-R-N-O-V-E-R very high turnover rate。 好，那一起开会的 Graham 他就问了，Is it getting more difficult to find suitable candidates？ 他提出了一个疑问，是不是很难找到合适的人啊？同学觉得 Graham 这样子的问题如何啊？从下面 Angela 的回应我们发现 Angela 说 The problem isn't finding new applicants。 其实问题不是没有人来应征啊，我们发现 Graham 提出这样的问题根本就没有把握到重点。因为 Angela 她最后说什么呢？ Adam is far from the only employee we've lost this year。 所以同学在听英文的时候，其实就像我们即使用中文在对谈，也要抓到别人说话的重点。 Angela 重点其实是在于要怎么样才留得住人啊。 Adam 并不是今年唯一离职的。好，那接下来 Lucy 一起开会的 Lucy 就说了，Did you learn anything from people's exit interviews？ 原来啊，国外这些公司，他们如果有员工要离职，通常呢，上面的人会再问问他们，跟他们聊一下。那这个呢，其实就是 exit interviews。那 Angela 的回复是 One consistent reason for leaving…… 好，我们看 Angela 她这里所说的是什么意思？ One consistent reason， 因为有很多人离职嘛，但他们都有一个共同的原因 One consistent reason。 好，是什么原因呢？ There wasn't enough opportunity for them to develop their professional skills here。 他们在我们公司没有机会发展专业的职能。那 Lucy 的回应就是那 In that case，如你所说的那种状况的话 I recommend that we create more training programs。 那这里我可以跟各位同学说，老板最爱这种员工了，他们呢会很积极的去找问题的解决方法。他提出了解决方法就是提供训练计划。那 Graham 的回应就是说，我们的训练计划，我们的训练课程其实很健全啊。那 Lucy 的回应是 I mean ongoing training for current employees in a range of different areas。 Lucy 就进一步的澄清，跟我们原有的既有的这一种员工训练教育训练是不一样的是针对现有的员工在各个领域呢再去提供他们教育训练。比方说要增加他们的 IT 的技能 to boost their IT skills，又或者呢，给他们一些管理的训练 management training。 那甚至于呢，假设我们希望能够从内部让员工有升迁的管道 if we want to promote internal candidates to supervisory roles。 好，那什么是 supervisory roles？ 其实就是主管的职位。好，那所以这里的 promote 其实就是把什么人升迁上来。那 Angela 针对以上所说的呢，她就做了一些回应了。其实还有另外一个问题就是呢，如果有现有的人他们离职了，甚至于放长假的话，没有人有办法马上去接替他的职务。请同学看到这里 No one is able to fill their shoes right away。Fill their shoes right away， 这是一种比喻的说法，其实呢就是接替他的职务。那我们平常口语也常常会说 You've left big shoes to fill， 通常呢是针对呢某个人他要卸下原有的职务，我们想要恭维他，让他知道说，你之前真的做得非常的好，别人接下来在接手的人根本没办法做得这么好。好，那接下来呢 Graham 就问说，那我们需不需要找外部的顾问呢？ Well, we need to bring in external consultants.Bring in external consultants 意思就是去延聘外面的顾问。好，那最后呢 Angela 她就说到了，其实训练课程虽然要一些预算经费，但是这些都是值得花的。If you think training is expensive, try ignorance。这里呢，它其实是一种反讽的讲法。你要是觉得训练课程贵，那假设我们的员工都没有什么样的教育训练，到时候公司要付出的代价更高昂。好的，以上呢就是我们针对第一天多益课程内容所做的中文讲解，谢谢大家。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, it's time for us to continue our lesson with some useful expressions. Remember, they were having a meeting there. And if you have a meeting, of course, people are expected to participate and offer their input and their opinions.And sometimes you will give a recommendation, which means you provide someone with some information that you have that other people may not have. You've got some experience in this field, so you're going to recommend something to someone. I think this is what you should do, and we've got some ways to express yourself in this way.
Right. Now, this is a particularly tricky verb or way to phrase things, so I just want to get everybody to pay close attention. If you're giving recommendations, you're likely going to be using a subjunctive tense. So notice here, I recommend that. You don't have to use that in any of these sentences. So I recommend we hold at least 4 optional training courses. I suggest we ask. I would advise we do something. So the form of this would be I suggest, advise, recommend.And then you just use the same verb tense for everything. We do, you do, I suggest they do this. I suggest he does this. You need to look up online. There are lots of pages about this. They have a list of all of these verbs that must go into the subjunctive tense. So look it up, memorize them, and then you'll be set. But you need them for work if you work in an office.
And that's when you make recommendations in a company. So first of all, you could say, I recommend that we hold at least 4 optional training courses for employees each year. They're optional, of course. You don't have to attend them, but of course, if you're a good employee and you want to pick up some skills, hey, it's a good idea to participate in these training courses. They probably aren't going to cost you anything, although you may have to attend those sessions after work or during other hours when you're doing other things. So in any case, this is what the person recommends. I recommend that we do this.And
here's number 2. I suggest we ask our more experienced staff members to train the newer ones. Usually your more experienced staff members are the busiest ones in the office. So this is a good suggestion, but it also puts a lot of weight and pressure on those more experienced staff members who might want to leave at that point. So be careful.And
here's the third one you could say. I would advise that we move the meeting to 2 p.m. on Friday. So I recommend, I suggest, I would advise. You can't really say I advise that we move the meeting. You probably should say would. I would advise that we do this. And these are some ways to express recommendations. And here's our discussion question.
Yeah.
When was the last time you learned a new skill, and what was it, and why did you learn it?
I wanted to see how to create a YouTube a channel so that I could upload videos. I have something to do at church where I wanted the kids' videos to be online for them so that they would feel kind of cool about it. So I learned how to set up a channel, how to upload videos, how to add text, and then translate some of them. What's something you've been trying to learn, Tom?
Well, I should learn some video editing skills. I took film in college before there was video editing online or on the computer. I know how to cut film and stuff like that, but I don't really know how to do it on the computer. That would be a useful skill.
Oh, it really would. I did try to get into that, and depending on the program, it can be really time-consuming, and you need a lot of hard drive free if you're going to be editing videos. I discovered that too.
And of course, we wish you the best of luck in training at your company or learning some new skills. And that brings us to the end of our program for today. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.